Hello! I think that I am live. Let me know in the chat. And welcome to Self-Care Sunday. It's so nice to be back with you guys. I always get this like rush of joy when I press the button. It makes all of the crappy conversations I have with myself about running late and how I could and should have done the week to make it better. I don't know. I definitely have a theme emerging for me around this week's episode of Self-Care Sunday, this month's episode of Self-Care Sunday, and this week's late episode of Focused AF. The ugly side of self-care and confronting confronting the patterns that I have that would have me never go live again, because I don't know if you can relate, but I beat myself up a lot, and I honestly haven't spent much time looking at what I get out of it that I keep doing it, and I thought that that could be a jumping off place for today. Before we get into anything else, I just want to say hello, everybody, friendly faces in the chat. Oh my God, Kiki, Dolly, so great to see you here. Mitzrayim, Kappa Books, Holly, Cookie McFumb, hello. So great to have you here. Alicia Workman, hello, fearless moderator. Savannah Hainsworth, I hope it's loading for you. I'm sorry to hear you're sick, Savannah. Isha Chan, Tristanana, I think. Oh man, this is one of the first times in a long time I have the spoons to join. That's so great. Welcome here. And Emir, welcome. So great to have you all here in the chat. I just launched a new video that I'm super excited about. I see some of you talking about it. You know, it feels really good to release a new video. That's not a live stream. As much as I love these live streams, I also love crafting and obsessing over message. And that is exactly what I've gotten to do and release in Goodbye Internet, my breakup video with social media, which I would love to get into. First, I just wanted to share something fun with all of you guys that I got up to last night, which was the 2018 U.S. Air Guitar Championships. This is something that I got to do for work. I'm not sure if you're hearing it. I'm just like...
There we go. Too late. We got an air bassist. All right, everybody. Who's ready for this competitor like number 2?
The NBA or the, like, semifinals. I don't know what you... Like, this is like a top of the world championship, but for air guitar.
Intermission. I hold in my hand your top 5.
1 second. Where's the real video? There we go. So you can get a sense of what air guitar looks like in this. So amazing. Anyway, I think that gives you the point. This was like basically 3 hours.
I think I have this hat back here. Hold on 1 second.
And I honestly don't know if I've ever run more fun of a live stream in my life. Not to diminish the amazingness of Self-Care Sunday, but 3 hours of air guitar, guys. And Sarah Shackett was like right next to me running the stream. We took turns running the camera and running the stream. And it's so fun, you know, it's just like how that job came to be, because honestly, I don't think I could have created that if I had tried like intentionally. But like how I got that job was immediately after being laid off from the startup that I was working at last year. I called in the troupe, Sarah Shackett, and we sat down on the couch and we made a list of, I think, over 100 organizations and individuals that we thought might want live streaming. And one of the people I reached out to works at a shul, Lab Shul in New York, and a Jewish organization. And she ended up not going with me for an event, but she recommended me, and this is one of the things she recommended me to, without having ever worked with me, just on the sheer trust of our connection and the sense that I could get the job done. I don't know. She gave this guy, Nat, my name, and the next thing I know, I'm in the back of this incredible theater doing all this stuff. It sounds like we're probably gonna be the provider again next year, and that on the success of this stream, they'll have a real budget that I can bring in my full team. Because when I do live streams for work, I often do like, you know, $10,000 to $50,000 budgets. This was not that. This was definitely more of a friend and family rate, because I just wanted to see this be a success. And it, you know, it still is helping me pay my rent, which is such a dream. And I got to, you know, create some work for Sarah, who I just love working with. And you know, I think one of my greatest joys in life is creating worthwhile work for people who I wish I could give everything to. So yeah, so it was just a real dream, and it has an impact that I like got home at whatever, like 1 a.m. or later, and like my room is just a total disaster zone right now, because when I do live streams with my own gear, which I haven't done in a while because I work with a team, it just like, it looks like this monstrosity, like somebody just like went through all my stuff to like rob me blind. It's just a mess. You know, I don't know if this video doesn't accurately convey how sloppy my space feels to me right now. But yeah, I really appreciate your patience with me. For those of you that were waiting and wondering, my intention is to develop and grow stronger. And so many of you have put up with so much bullshit from me in regards to, you know, just like patrons that signed up early with one expectation that I didn't fulfill on. And, you know, I think I'm in a place now where rather than beat myself up about that, I'm more interested in learning from it. And just, you know, two of you in the community who have really been, I think, just people I've been wanting to complete with, because I just feel incomplete about this. Alicia and Rena, who are two admins on this channel who work with me on Write a Script in November. I've promised time and again when Frameshift is coming out, the audio drama from last year, and I'm still working on it, and I had a breakdown with my editor. And it's just one of those things where in the past I would jump to beating myself up about it, and now I just want to just acknowledge that it's something I'm working on, and something that I'm interested in developing a process around. And this, it feels new, this like capacity to not make myself wrong and beat myself up the way that I used to. And that doesn't necessarily, like, I'm not trying to like justify or like come up with an excuse for why frame shift isn't done, but it just, bear with me. This is, you know, this is unscripted. I have some note cards, which I'll get to in a moment. But yeah. Oh, Maximilian Defoe, it's so great to have you here. I just appreciate your patience with me. I think that that's something that I've been deeply grateful for, how many people I have in my life that are willing to be patient with me. And that's a privilege that I feel more myself acknowledging, and just like really is not something that everybody gets by default in life, and I wish it were different. But I see somebody's asking, what's frame shift? Frame shift is an audio drama that I've been working on. It's written by Shannon Smith, and it's starring a Marvel level within the audio drama world cast, celebrity cast, including Briggon Snow and Kristen DiMercurio, including Beth Eyre, including Zach Libresco and Eli Barraza. And it's just been an incredible experience. A new writer who submitted their script to a contest that we ran as part of the November Write a Script Challenge last year. Write a Script in November, Rai Scrivember, and we did an audio drama challenge for people who wanted to write a short audio drama. They submitted their scripts. Shannon was selected by the other authors by a popular vote, and we're producing it, and I wanted it to be out in May, and then I wanted it to be out in June, and then I wanted it to be out in July. And I've been working with an editor who is new to this kind of project and had other work come up that was paying in a way that this isn't paying, because it's a volunteer job. I'm not getting paid, nobody's getting paid. Everybody's volunteered their time, and we will release the special episode as a pay what you want, where all the proceeds will go towards United for Puerto Rico. And I wish it were out. I have been consuming my time with other projects, mostly things that I need to do for work, and like for rent and for my financial stability. And it's something that will be done before November, for sure. But I noticed that I just like jump to like try to fix it and do like make a promise that's not realistic, just to try to be liked. And I'm sorry about doing that, Alicia and Rena. You can count on me to cut that out, and probably to fuck up in the future. And also, like, I'm interested in taking on being responsible, independent of being liked. But that brings me to my internet vacation. So if you've seen the video that I released a moment ago, like just like a couple minutes before going live, I've been wanting to release this for a while. Let me just bring this up in the video. Ba, 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 ba. Goodbye, internet. Ooh, and I think it's not unlisted anymore. So you can see my new studio and my Alpha Smarter, which is this device that I'm about to start typing on that looks like an ergonomic keyboard. Dear internet, I'm leaving you. Well, most of you. Or at least a little bit. Social media dominates my adult life, chasing followers, subscribers, verifications, likes, comments, shares, validation, and status.
I feel like a gambling addict picking up my phone over 70 times a day. And it's designed by some of the smartest people on the planet to be this way.
Okay, you get the idea. There's more to it, and there may or may not be some puppetry involved. I don't want to spoil it. I'm super excited about this video. I feel like it is stretching muscles that I haven't gotten to stretch in a long time creatively. And let me use my green screen, which is this crazy green contraption hanging from my ceiling in the background that I did the puppet in front of. And I might do a behind-the-scenes video on how I made that video. To get the timing right with the puppet. Shooting those things separately was a bit of a challenge, but the kind of challenge that I'm looking for these days. I think one of the things that I don't really talk about in that video is the addiction that I feel to social media and sort of the personal side of it. It's a very high level, big idea video that's much more focused on cultural implications of social media issues, such like that. But I make no promises, Alicia, that it might be the dog voice from Wolf 359. Bev Spires mentions that's one filthy mouth sock puppet. There is a sock puppet in the video, and I was inspired by Mr. Rogers, who is an American television personality who made programs for kids, and he actually used puppetry to express other sides of himself that were more difficult for him to express when it was just him talking as himself. I think he wanted to be a good person, and so he, I think, wouldn't let himself say in his own voice stuff that he felt. And I think if we don't say what we feel, it gets bottled up and can actually start to hurt us. So I find it really refreshing to have this like filthy, horrible little animal to just like be an outlet for crappy thoughts that I don't even really believe most of the time. I don't know if you can experience, or if you've experienced this, but I have thoughts occasionally that actually have no basis in what I really value and believe. It's just like there's a radio that's broken in my brain that just like spews out ideas. And some of them I like and some of them I don't. And the ones I don't, the more I push them away, the more I suffer from various, you know, sort of like anxiety, sort of like worrying, you know, making myself wrong, that kind of stuff. I'm curious if any of you can relate. But yeah, let's see. Mophie, Adenorin. It's funny, I'm addicted to memes, but I don't want to give them up. Totally unrelated tangent. I think meme is a, you know what? I'm just gonna fucking make the video. I have this weird video idea. It's probably not gonna work, but I'll report back next month. It's definitely a Zach and Ruffles thing, but it's about memes and meditation, and I think there's a meme meditation. But anyway, follow up with me about that meme-itation. Man, it's so refreshing to realize I'm not alone on these streams. It's really a privilege and a joy to get to chat with y'all and share what's inside. Kiki Dali, the voice goes something like this.
I'm the dog from Wolf 359. Yes.
It's like a little bit Gollum, but not entirely Gollum.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes, I'm the dog.
And it's just like this weird little like creature. Alicia, you're gonna have to wait and find out. Meme meditation. It has something to do with mantras, and it's also very horrifying. But we're gonna get to it. If you want a spoiler, go check out the book Memetic. It's a graphic novel book that I highly recommend. But just to loop back around to my internet vacation, my social media break. Just to be clear, I'm not on, or I'm soon not going to be on Instagram at all and Facebook at all. I want to take the time to post the video that I just posted to Facebook to those channels with a little bit of a long form explanation and leave it up for about 30 days before I deactivate those accounts. I don't want to delete them yet, but just I do intend to deactivate them to discourage actually going back to them. I've deleted the apps from my phone, and then as circumstances arise, I'll re-download them for a logistical reason, especially Facebook, because it's so many of my other accounts' logins that I have a lock-in effect that will take some time to divest from, to like reset my accounts with certain services. That Facebook is my login, and it's convenient to have the phone app to validate and verify, and it's actually like necessary for some things. And that's one of the ways in which these programs become part of the fabric of our lives and become structurally addictive. And I'm feeling that pressure. And why I feel the need to get some space from that pressure, why I'm excited to sort of stretch the other side of my arm instead of just constantly doing curls on social media, and really explore something else, is Maximilian, have a lovely day. I love you. Be well. I see you're leaving. Rehab for internet addicts. You could make a religion out of this. Not trying to start a religion. That is one thing that is not on my bucket list. Yikes. My grandfather was very religious and left me with a sour taste in my mouth around it. And please don't misunderstand that I have all the space in the world for spirituality. And I think that every religion that I've paid attention to has a deep heart of spirituality, and then some other stuff that makes gay people not people some of the time. And I have issues with that. And that was some of the problems that I had with my grandfather's adherence to his version of Judaism, or at least what he talked to me about. But yeah, I didn't know when I was 7 that he had 7 months to live, a cancer diagnosis, and cancer brought him closer to his faith, and it really gave him something to hang on to, and turned 7 months into 7 years. And so, you know, looking back, I have all the compassion in the world for it, but when I was 8, it just felt like I couldn't ask anything authentically because it would challenge his religion and then become a shouting match about how dumb I was and where was I learning these questions, and they were just coming from inside. And so I sort of muted myself, and I've been in a process since not too long after that, since I was about 16 or so, maybe even before that, of getting that complete for myself. Alicia Workman, I'm kind of religious, but I was outed as gay to my parents a couple months ago, and it's been a dicey situation. Yeah, I think that's true for a lot of people, and yeah, I want you to know that I'm definitely available if you ever want to DM or, you know, talk about that. And I know anybody in this community that is willing is probably a resource worth considering. Mitzrayim, to answer your question, I am tired and I have been sleeping well. I'm tired today because I was up late last night and I'm like an old man and don't do well after late nights, as much as I enjoy them. But that's part of the job that I had last night and why I don't do those often. But you can count on me getting some real good rest tonight. So anyway, not to get too far down the religion rabbit hole, you know, the thing that I've been sort of focused on, well, maybe we should just focus where we are, because it looks like a lot of people can relate to where religion and being queer intersect. And I think that intersectionality is not talked about particularly frequently or with any sense of joy in this country for the past that we've survived. At least in America. I can't speak for other countries because I really haven't experienced them to the degree that I have this one. Tristan and I can relate to that to an extent. I grew up in a Christian household. I was a Sunday school teacher and then gave it up because while I believe, I didn't feel safe as a bi-trans guy, even though I was closeted. My heart goes out to you, bro. I'm just like, I don't know what else to say other than my heart goes all the way out. Yeah. So what I really wanted to focus on in this conversation is just this addiction that I have to measuring up to an expectation. And that's what social media inflames for me, is an addiction to who I think I should be. And it's a pattern of thought that when I like trace it, like, you know, on a rug, if there's like a loose thread and you pull at it, you like might undo the entire rug. The more I've pulled on what it is that I really want to get out of social media, when I am a certain way about it, the way that I've consistently been, which is not being at my best. Most of the time on social media, I'm not at my best. I'm just lost in it, like scrolling forever, looking for something outrageous or funny or interesting, and trying to be better, to grow bigger, to get more followers and keep more followers than some of my friends, to get verification from platforms that other people I know have verification on, and I think it makes them, you know, a more successful human being than me because there's a blue check mark next to their name. And all that stuff, while I can sit here and tell you why it's valid and why it's actually worth fighting for, I think when I tell the truth, it's made me sicker rather than weller, if I were just to look at it through that simple lens. And I know that that's oversimplifying it, because there is good on social media, and it's real. And mostly, I'm rolling around in the shit and wondering why I want to vomit, because it smells like shit all the time, where and how I interact with social media, which is to compare myself against people, especially on Twitter and YouTube. And I think the reason why I'm staying on Twitter and YouTube is to see if there's something else than that pattern. And that's why I love getting to like stream these streams and slow down with it, because I think if you look at past streams, I'm like manic and like all over the place. And I'm not saying I'm not all over the place now, I totally am. It's just the difference between having the space to slow down. And I bet if you watch some of those videos I'm thinking about where I'm like, I'm a crazy person, you might notice me when I do slow down and what I say differently then. Like, I just think it's fun to be able to notice patterns in ourselves. And that's something that I've really been at work on. And what I'll be talking about in Focused AF when I get around to making it either later today or a little later this week. Oh, these comments are, I can't wait to go back and read them. And I just want to make it clear that I really don't have any, like, problem with anybody's beliefs, and I just want people to feel safe here, and not accused of anything, because I just think we're all doing our best. I don't know. I just want to make sure that people of faith don't feel in any way you know, be yourself, whatever that means for you. And if you don't know who you are, join me in finding out, because I have no idea who I am. I have some ideas, but mostly I just have ideas that are in comparison to other people that I think I should be more like. One of whom is Casey Neistat, who I'm so glad I'm not when I really think about it. He's a creator on YouTube that never sleeps and operates well. And if I never slept, I would be dead. And yeah, and so I'm glad I don't have to be him. So yeah, the idea I'll be exploring in today's, or this week's Focused AF that's late from last Friday, this past Friday, is that self-care can be nice and beautiful and all the things that I talk about here that's positive. It can also be really gross. And when I resist how gross and challenging self-care can be, I talk about it without having it in my life. And that's, what that looks like is I don't go to therapy and schedule the appointment when I know that therapy would really be delivering some self-care. And so that's why I went to therapy last Wednesday for the first time in years. And I'm my primary care physician says I should get my heart checked out. It was probably that the internist put the thing on my chest wrong, but I've been putting off going to a heart doctor, and it's about time that I do that. And it's not an excuse that I have mediocre health insurance and it's expensive to go out of pocket and it's probably not a real concern. I have it I can't afford it. I can't afford the time. I can't afford the money. I'll get to it eventually. And the thing about self-care that I know this conceptually, but I don't live it like it's real, is that I can't afford not to practice it, because I only have this one life. And God forbid they find me dead in this basement with a heart attack and a referral on my desk that I put off for a year. I mean, that's a practical joke way for me to go, and you deserve better than that, I deserve better than that. And it's not a matter of being good enough or not good enough, but I kind of make it about that, and then I get caught in this trap. And social media has been an inflammatory thing in my life, and I'll get into it in Focused AF about inflammation and the basically I have a really embarrassing health problem that I haven't talked much about publicly, and I think it's about time that I come out about it. So stay tuned for Focused AF. If you don't listen to that show, go subscribe to that show. Leave a rating and review for it on iTunes or wherever you listen to it. Just focus.af is the website, and it'll take you to the podcast from there if you go click the Get the Podcast thing. So yeah, let's see. What else did I want to talk about? So really quickly, just to sort of wrap this up, because I want to sort of switch over to the chat and sort of get into the what's it called, Q&A portion of this, and be a little bit more in dialogue than monologue. The space that was required for me to see my social media addiction as an addiction and not as a preference is a function of how present I am at any given moment. And being present is a birthright. Like when we're born, I think when you look into a baby's eyes, you see what presence looks like, and it's amazing. And then you see what presence doesn't look like when, like, or, you know, you see what being present to emotions and feelings and, you know, just like crying when you're sad. It's just like this direct experience. I feel like being with wee ones reminds me. But I don't know, as an adult, I really don't feel like presence comes all that easily. Like being present is actually challenging. Anybody in a relationship here, please tell me, like, do you ever tune out of listening to your partner? Because I do that. And I've been getting better at being like, hey babe, I'm sorry, I stopped listening. Can we please rewind? And just like noticing that and naming that now as a practice gives me presence. It gives me that experience of being present, because we laugh about it, or, you know, talk about the impact of that it has, that I tune out when I tune out. And it's not just with her, it's like with everybody in my life. I'll like just, you know, I'm addicted to ideas, and so I go off into idea trains and don't hear people. And practice and process are like these two things that I've been thinking a lot about and playing a lot with and learning a lot about. And I think meditation is like one category of practice that I feel like I've done a lot of study around, and I'm finally really enjoying in the way that I think reading can feel like a chore in school. And if you enjoy reading something, it doesn't feel like work. And so I feel like there's this like been a shift for me around my meditation practice from this like vitamin that I wasn't taking enough and feeling guilty about not doing right, to now it's something that I just enjoy all the time. And even when I don't enjoy it, I'm finding room to enjoy that, if that makes any fucking sense. It's really nice. And it starts with noticing my pattern of beating myself up, and just in the moment of doing it, noticing what I'm doing, and not making that wrong also. And developing a process is critical to practice for in my experience. Like that's been what has it work. And in the past, it's been like really doubling down on treating my calendar as sacred. So when I make time, not double booking, and making sure to check it the night before so I don't forget anything, and do a review at the end of the week to see if there's anything that I didn't complete that I said I would, and, you know, making new occasions for the next week, and really investing in my calendar as if it were my real life and treating it like that level of sacred. That's made a big difference in the past. And then it can just sort of dry out and feel like, you know, meaningless if there's not heart in it, if I'm just doing it to do it. And so that's why I built the Alpha Smarter, that crazy keyboard that looks a lot like this, that just has a screen in it, that you'll see in the internet video. Why I built that was to find something that would let me practice a new process, which is I just carry it around all the time and I write in it, and I'll just be on the subway and I'll be able to capture all the ideas that are floating around. And I'm starting to notice where I have cognitive dissonance, where I say one thing and I do another, where I pretend that something's valuable, but I actually invest in something else or the opposite of what I pretend. And the more I can tell the truth to myself about where my brain is playing tricks on me, and who I am outside of all that, the more fun I'm having in life and the more things seem to be working. So in another video that I may or may not get to this month, I'm going to switch over to questions, this is my new process. So like the Alpha Smarter is great, the keyboard that I carry around all the time, but one of the problems that I have with it is, one, the syncing isn't done yet because I'm not at a certain level of proficiency with my coding that it's not automatically syncing to Dropbox yet, and I want that before I really double down on using it every day religiously, because if I can't easily find the documents off the device, it's like they get stuck there, and then if I lose it, it gets erased. Like, I just like want to, and I intend to request my roommates who are both coders to support me in really bringing it to the next level. But in the meantime, like the other thing that I realized is I do a lot of writing. And so, you know, at a certain point I stopped writing so much in the Alpha Smarter and started doing more on my iPhone and an app that I use called Ulysses, which is great. It syncs and you can search it, so it's on all my devices. I see Leslie C is like reading the future right now. I bought a physical planner to keep track of everything, and it's really kept me on track. Well, so that's exactly what I've done, is I created a Le inbox. This like silly little box is my new process that I'm playing with this week. One of the expectations that I have of myself is that I would be what's called inbox zero, which, if you're a nerd like me in productivity hacking, you'd know around email is having zero in your inbox, like at least once a week, if not every day. I do not have that. It's really bad. And one of the reasons it's really bad is I have no process around it. So of course it would be really bad. And what I mean by really bad is I basically like keep my eyes on my email for only urgent things. And there's so much garbage that builds up that I just don't take the time to either unsubscribe to or find a solution for filtering out things that aren't relevant, like promotions and newsletters and these things. And then responding to everything, even when I don't want to, or creating an autoresponder that will tell people that if they really need to reach me, they can go through like phone, you know, basically like I have not designed my inbox to work for me, and I've been trying to survive it, and it's just never going to work that way. And rather than start there, because it's like so not inspiring, I wanted to start with something that would really work for me, and that for me was having this new index card system that's an inbox that I can keep at inbox zero by taking an hour a week to do it on Sundays at 2 p.m. And that's just like a new ritual I'm playing with. And I'm like, I love that I have you guys to share this with, because I just feel like so nerdy, and it's just like so my favorite thing to share little creations of mine. So I ordered this $2 box for 3.5 inch index cards, and then I got these little dividers, but the dividers were too big, so I cut them down on the bottom, and then there was this like thing on the top that was holding like a label up to the top that was like these little plastic parts that were hanging down and crushing the little dividers in the box. If that's clear and you can see it. If not, just like let me know in the chat. Yeah, basically it now all fits, and I have just 5 sections, which is as many tabs as I can actually read, because I just want to keep it simple and not overthink it. And so I simply have broken it down to actionable items that need to get done in the to-do category, observations or things that I notice about the world or myself, ideas that I have and may or may not want to explore doing alone or with people, agendas or correspondence, like things that I want to communicate to specific people in short order or before I die at any stretch of that time span. And then media and things that I hear in podcasts or read in books that I want to not forget. And then I just have blank cards in the back. So it's like all those things are in the front. Hey, Marietta, welcome. So great to have you here. And Artemis P, that's so cool. Oh wait, maybe that's something else. What I love about this gadget, and Holly, I see you like this. It's just so cool. Like Ray's like, it's so cool to see you guys like this. What's cool about this is like, I don't know, $5. The most expensive part is to get a pack of 100 of these little dividers, and I got just the ones I wanted. There were cheaper ones that were a different color, but I figured that for this I should just, for the $15 versus the $6, it was worth spending a little extra to get exactly the manila ones that I wanted, so that I look forward to using it. Yeah. So this is Le Inbox. I don't know, for instance, I don't know, what's something that I might share with you guys. Ooh. There's this great podcast called On Being with Krista Tippett, and she recently had Alain Dubuton, who's a philosopher and a writer, on the show. He writes about love, and I just like loved what he had to say about it, which is, all falling in love involves triumph of hope over knowledge. And it's just so interesting to look at it that way. I'm not sure I agree, but it provoked so many thoughts about love and ultimately had me reflect on the love in my life, which always brings joy when I just sit with that. And then there's one of the key jobs of culture is to de-isolate us. And I'm just like, whoa, that's not how I feel when I follow 1,000 people on Twitter, and when I open it, I really don't feel de-isolated. When I read it, I feel more isolated, or I feel more outrage than I did previously, and that's one of the reasons why I unfollowed everyone on Twitter except for 2 people. I made up all the other people that I want to keep tabs on in lists, so that I can go to those lists when I want to, and they're private, so nobody can, you know, just like judge what I do and don't want to pay attention to. And I don't have to be triggered by stuff that I know is going to trigger me, and so much of social media is triggering for me, that it feels really good to be able to craft an experience like that. And I also use an app called Twitterific that lets me get rid of advertising, so I don't feel like I'm being manipulated by the manipulation system that is ad-based internet information delivery systems. So anyway, that is Le Inbox. I might do like a more tutorial style how to make one, and I don't know, I'm thinking about maybe offering them to patrons who've been with me for a certain number of months. It's something that I can do that I can't do with the Alpha Smarter, because these keyboards are really expensive, and so it's too costly to just do it. Oh man, so great. Oh man, I'm gonna spend the rest of this stream the last 15 minutes of it, maybe max. Here's how we'll do it. This is the plan. I have this shirt that I was wearing last night at the live stream, and one of the buttons came flying off. So I thought that I'd go peek into the chat and we'd do like Q&A while I sew back this button. And then we'll say goodbye for this month, for this week, for this, this stream. And I'll make my room not a total pigsty off the air, and move on to working on Focused AF. Oh man! All right, Holly says, I feel like since you've posted everything on Patreon, started this whole stepping back from social media thing, I've been watching how much I'm on it too. I've started not letting myself get on it. Oh wow, that's so cool. In the morning, and it's really changing my mornings and making them more positive and productive. I'm so pleased to hear that. That's so awesome. Tristan and Han, did I flex too hard and it flew off? So what I did do was just like stretch too much. It was like pop, because it's a small shirt and I probably should have a medium. I'll be right back. In fact, I can actually take you with me, just right over here. So welcome to my studio, by the way. I realize I haven't done like a proper YouTuber like studio tour situation. I feel like I'm not like a proper YouTuber, but that's just my own expectation of what that should be, and I actually get to invent it. So these are drawers that my grandfather used to use for his art lecturing. Apparently, as an art lecturer, before you could use Google Images, you had to, shit, I'm sorry, I gotta take off these headphones because I'm just like destroying my situation with the sound thing. So yeah, before Google image search, as an art lecturer, you actually needed to have the art like in your, second, let's like focus in on this. You actually had to have the art in your home, and so he had these like filing cabinets full of slides. And he passed away many years ago, and when my grandmother passed away, they were just going to throw these out. So I grabbed as many of them as I thought I could actually use, which was the perfect number. I just got 6 of them, so it's 3 and 3, and they make up the supports of this standing desk that I work at. And you can see they still have the labels like ethnic photography, Nazi, Latin America, contemporary, American contemporary, post-impressionism, Cezanne, Van Gogh. It's just, I mean, literally every era of art you could imagine is captured by these labels, but it was his own little idiosyncratic system that worked for him. It was his own process that he created and is really not useful for anybody else, except what he would create out of it was useful for his, whoops. Okay, they're old and kind of shitty, but they're also great. But yeah, anyway, my point is, I just wanted to get this, but show you that in the meantime. Yeah. That is my story about Baba John and his process and system that I feel like I'm now exploring with index cards. Boop, 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 boop. Okay. Where'd that shirt get to? I done dropped it on the floor. I'll be right back. And in the meantime, please throw any questions or thoughts or things that you want to talk about in the chat. And we'll talk about them for the next 15 minutes or so, however long it sort of takes me to get this together. You can watch me thread a needle, which is always an exciting task. I would brag about it, but I think it'll probably make me do worse at it than normal. Huh. My standing desk, I was going to lower it so I could sit in a more comfortable chair, but it's not plugged in, and I don't want to waste the time, the precious time that we have together, plugging stuff in. Why does Self-Care Sunday go by so quickly? I've heard that time flies when we're having fun, and I think that that may be at play here. Mitzrayim, some advice about being difficult on yourself that I got from Crystal is that every time you're about to say something harsh about yourself, imagine you're speaking to a friend. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right that I say things to myself that I would like punch whoever said things like that to my friends. So it's interesting, that phenomenon. Bam! First try. Fuck yeah. I love being good at things, and this is one of the things that I think I'm really good at, just threading needles without that little tool. I'm also good at those crane games. Anyway, just like random hand-eye coordination things that aren't video games, which I am terrible at. Marietta still wanted to say thank you for your and freaking Lauren Shippen's advice last year when I started the new job at the animal hospital and thought I couldn't do it. I just had my first weekend in surgery. Oh man, Marietta, I'm so glad to hear that. Remind me what that was. That from the live stream? Was that from one of our other videos? I'm so curious, and I'm just so glad to hear that it served you. Let's see. Okay, Takibo. Ooh, question. You've got one. That's so great. What do you do when you've closed a chapter in your life, but you're overwhelmed with the freedom? Oh my God. This is like the perfect question. Is it too vague, or is it my life? Spoiler, it's my life. I wish this zoomed out a little bit so you could actually see the sewing, but such is life. Okay, so what do I do when you've closed a chapter but you're overwhelmed with the freedom of new opportunities to start anything? So one thing is I have noticed that I compulsively start things. And I say compulsively intentionally because, you know, one of the things that I've been feeling recently is a kind of exhaustion that comes with unintentional energy spraying. And I don't know how else to say it than that. And I know it sounds a little gross, but there is a sort of sense of spraying my energy between like relationships, between projects. I'll take on more than I can handle. This is like the maladaptive coping strategy that happens when I'm not approaching this question. The question is definitely not too vague. Again, the question is, what do you do when you've closed a chapter in your life, but you're overwhelmed with the freedom of new opportunities to start anything? The answer is I very often start too many things. For instance, this summer, I bought a battery to allow me to do Project Uplift events in Central Park, and I said to myself, I'm going to do this every weekend. and build Project Uplift slowly over the summer by bringing this device that lets people lift the world with their minds that I have in the corner to like public parks and places where people would see it and engage with it, and where it could make a real difference instead of just keeping it in my basement. And I did the surgery on the tower that I needed to do. I got all the parts, and I still haven't brought it anywhere because I needed to focus on frame shift, because I also was finishing that project that I didn't focus on finishing. And I had attempted to do something new there and work with somebody and have a team, because teamwork makes the dream work. Like, I don't think I can do everything in life, but the degree to which I can do more things that I want to do is a function of how many people I can collaborate with to move things forward while I'm not working on them personally. And I was trying to have a breakthrough with that on frame shift, and I rushed it. You know, I didn't have a real process. I basically just said, Trevor, will you do this? And he said yes, and then I let him go off and do it without really supporting him in it. And I see that now, because hindsight's 2020. I don't think I could have seen it differently at the time. And I think that, you know, one of the things that has been working recently that I'm just really stoked on and would invite you to explore for yourself, because the answer is I don't have an answer for you other than a direct, like really I have a direction, not a destination, if that makes sense. Like, I have go west, not go to San Francisco and like this neighborhood, if that makes sense as an analogy for advice. I would just have you focus on creating a process for auditioning ideas for yourself. Like, make a list of all the ideas you could do and keep that list with you so you can add to it as stuff arises, and then find some time to evaluate the ideas against criteria that you're going to have to invent. And there's not a true criteria for what you should work on. At least I don't see that for myself. Like, there are some limitations, like if I don't have enough money, I'll be homeless, and so I have to be responsible for that. I am making what I need to make to like survive. But I think we make making a living into our entire lives in a lot of cases, and I'm very privileged as a straight passing white cis guy to have, and like upper middle class at that, to have all the opportunities I have. And I would basically just challenge you to focus on capturing your ideas and creating space before you start them to start to notice any patterns in the ideas. Like, are they circling something? Like, you might notice that you have a lot of ideas for audio drama. I would then celebrate that you clearly want to work on an audio drama and be less attached to the ideas and focus more on who do you want to make that audio drama with? What do you want to say with that project? What would feel like an appropriate thing to learn in the process of accomplishing that specific project? Like, maybe it's how to start and finish something fiction that you've never done before. And I would encourage you to not do what I did with like something like Focused AF and expect that you'll do something indefinitely like I would build in checkpoints in the creative process of bringing something to life so that you can quit while you're ahead. Because I think we can end up getting attached to our creations and let them run our lives. And that's not always appropriate, and I have fallen prey to it enough that I think it's worth saying now. So I don't know if that answers your question, but those are the thoughts that come when I think about it. And I clearly just got distracted because this button, I just like made a wrong stitch. Yeah, I'm curious to scroll down to the end of the chat and see what anybody said. So awesome. I love that you guys are just like having a different conversation about other advice and just being specific with people so everybody gets taken care of. It's really awesome. Alsha Brown. Oh, yo, Marietta, I hope you're okay. Oh, right. Marietta, I see that. That's great. Alsha Brown, advice on networking. Oh, yeah. I got you. Introvert with anxiety and want to connect with people who have similar interests in real life. So, what city do you live in? And if you don't live in a city, what opportunities do you have for networking that you already know about in your local area? And like, why, like, do they seem unattractive? And if they, yeah, just like, I'm curious where you're geographically located. It's not entirely important, but it's really, I'm curious to know. Maybe I'm just buying time to think of a better answer. To K-Bo, so awesome to have you here, and I hope any of this was useful, and I really look forward to hearing what you discover for yourself in a future stream, maybe next month, because I think the essence of what I was hoping to get across is I really don't know, and I'm in that right now, which is why I like freaked out when you asked that question, because it feels so alive for me right now. And I think the best thing to do is be really curious and bring an attitude of curiosity to as many moments as you remember to do that. And if you notice that you have an attitude of beating yourself up, to just be really curious about that and bring back that curiosity, that non-judgmental appreciation for the time that you have to breathe and think about this with a cooler head prevailing. So yeah, I'm like having trouble. Yeah, so, okay, so it looks like people looking for clubs. I think here's what I would invite you to consider. And I like, how do I want to say this? In many ways, I identify as an introvert. And a lot of people have trouble believing that for potentially obvious reasons. So, yeah. I also, for many reasons, identify as an extrovert. I wasn't always loud. And I think if you knew me in high school, middle school, you'd see really obviously, especially in middle school, why I was more of an introvert. And I think you'd probably agree with me that I was more an introvert than an extrovert. And the degree to which that's shifted over the years is a function of how willing I am to be curious about who I really am. And the tricky thing about labels, and this got really clear to me as I started exploring and trying to nail down my sexual identity and my sexual preference, and you can see some of that in my video, Something Personal, here on YouTube. In my own personal experience, I've discovered for myself that labels never totally capture what they're pointing at in a way that the word New York City does not contain New York City in it. It's a label. And so I think the trouble with language like I am an introvert or I am an extrovert, I'm a this or I'm a that, is that you lose meaningful or useful or just period, you lose information in the labeling. And all I mean by that, and it's useful to have labels like that to be able to communicate needs to people with a shorthand. Like, I don't want to leave you with like you're doing anything wrong, because you're not. I just noticed that I have a relationship to labels like I used to be looking for the right ones, and I got caught up trying to survive life as the person that I'd labeled myself as. And the more that I feel into what's underneath the label, like if the label is the top of a pyramid, like the tip of it, and if I notice there's a like full pyramid beneath it and sink down into the feeling of the, you know, whatever the shape of that emotion is underneath the label that I would call introvert, I notice that I like being alone sometimes. And sometimes more often than not. And it recharges me. And if you just say that before you go to I'm an introvert, you could plan a month around an upcoming networking event that is exciting with a lot of planned alone time, so that you're not left swept up in too much social time. Because as I've identified as an extrovert, I let myself get swept up in too much social time, and I rediscovered that I'm actually an introvert, and then it's like, which am I really? And then I feel like I'm at war in myself, and I think the thing that I want to leave you with is to say yes to everything that's arising in your experience, and just notice that there are a lot of aspects to you, and some of them might be introvert shaped and some of them might be other shaped as you explore what brings you joy, and just sort of like, yeah, just like, I think I've been conditioned to be really quick to label stuff, and the more I slow down and feel into the experience, like in any given moment, of what I need and what I want, the more freedom I find to try new things and to take new risks without being reckless. And that, yeah, I would say, like, start really small and work up in increments. Because the reality about networking is it feels like this thing that we should do to do life right. And when you discover networking as connection and just connecting, it ceases to be work. And the grip for this is just in my own personal experience. I just want to be clear about that. I actually don't know really what networking is, except that it's something that no longer pisses me off or terrifies me, and that wasn't always true. I hope that was useful. Cool. Well, this button's back on. And I love you guys. And I'm going to get ready to end this stream. I don't know if there's anything else that y'all want to check in about before we go. I feel like I covered everything I wanted to talk about. I guess the only other thing is this is like a secret project I've been sort of keeping up as part of my newfound exploration of process. I've been keeping a blog on my Patreon page. And basically, like the week after I do a Focused AF, I'll do a behind the mic post where I sort of write about what I was thinking about before creating the episode. And before I launched the video, I got some feedback on it from people. So I've just been sharing like little posts, and some of them, I would say like the vast majority of them will probably go public eventually. And so you can actually, whether you want to support me on Patreon or not, or whether you can support me on Patreon or not, it's irrelevant to just like, if you'd like to read some things of mine in long form that are just part of my process, you can actually follow me on Patreon and just get updates there. And I'll be investing more of my time in that than I will in these other things, these other sort of like social media platforms. So yeah, I love you guys so much. This is like the most fun. And I know it feels like I'm doing stuff for you to some of you, and it's not as obvious for you what you do for me, and that the space that you create here and the way you listen to me, not everybody listens to me. Do you know that when I'm on the subway, I'm a stranger? And that the degree to which I get to experience myself as a magic person is the degree to which you listen to me that way. And you guys have such a big listening of me, it lets me be big. And that's a gift that you guys give me that ripples out into my life in ways that you can't comprehend, and I've been unreliable for sharing about. And yeah, I just like, I can't wait to be increasingly clear about the miracle that you guys are for me, and like how I see all of you, because I don't think you see you the way I see you, and there's nothing wrong, just like a gap in a way that Mr. Rogers saw me without ever meeting me, in a way that I didn't see myself. And the more I see what he really meant, the freer this experience is. And yeah, well, hell, I feel the cusp of tears, and it just like, I love that feeling. It just feels alive, just to be on that edge. Well, until next time, be well. Ooh. And I don't know, share anything that you think would be valuable, like little clips or parts, feel free to take any of this stuff and edit it into whatever you think would be better if you want to do that. Just like all this stuff is yours. That's true of Focused AF too. And with the YouTube video that I uploaded before this, give it a watch, give it a share if you think there are people in your life who would like it and benefit from it, and do leave a comment and press the thumbs up button here too, because it tells YouTube to treat me differently, if that makes sense. So I appreciate your partnership in that. And yeah, until next time, bye-bye.